You ever get pulled over and know, instantly, this isn't just a traffic stop? Yeah, that happened to me. I'll never forget it, because from the jump, it felt like a bad rerun, except I was the only one who didn't know my lines. Two white cops, late at night, Arlington streets almost empty, yellow streetlights barely lighting the cracked road. I just finished a meeting, let's call it classified, and was headed home, dead tired but wide awake in all the ways that matter when you're a black woman alone and you've learned, the hard way, to read the air before you even crack your window. They had the routine down cold. Failure to yield at an intersection, or so they claimed. But that was just the opener. The real show started when Officer Carter, tall, stiff, couldn't fake friendly if you paid him, flashed his light in my face like I'd already been found guilty of something. His partner, Sullivan, chunkier, eyes meaner, circled the car slow, like he was sizing up a threat or hoping for one. Where was I going? What kind of work did I do? Why was I alone at this hour? That's the thing, right? You answer, they don't really listen. They're just waiting for you to trip over your words, show a crack, anything that'll give them what they're looking for. I kept my voice steady, nothing extra. Just enough to show I knew my rights without handing them an excuse to escalate. Freelance, I said. That got a smirk. Like, yeah, right? Here's where it turns. Carter asked to pop the trunk. No warrant, no reason. But sometimes, the quickest way to get home is to play it calm. So I stepped out, didn't flinch, and let them have their look. I watched Sullivan sniff the air and announce, almost like he wanted an audience, that something was off. Emergency search, he said. He opens my trunk. Inside, a bag. Clear, unmarked, just sitting there. He lifts it out like he's just solved the biggest case of his life. I didn't react. Because, well, I knew that wasn't mine, and I sure as hell knew what was coming. That's flour, not drugs. And you both know it? That's all I said. No yelling, no begging, just the truth, plain as day. For a second, Carter froze, like he'd never seen someone refuse to play the role he expected. But they cuffed me anyway. Cold steel, tight enough to make a point, but not tight enough to make me cry out. I held Carter's gaze, not angry, just warning him. This was his mistake, not mine. Back of the patrol car, I sat straight. Sullivan, riding shotgun, tried to taunt me. Not many stay this calm. But trust me, after a night in a cell, everyone cries. He wanted a reaction. I gave him nothing. At the station, it was like I'd stepped into a well-oiled machine. Buzzing lights, stale coffee, officers acting like this was just another Tuesday. The desk sergeant barely looked at me. They processed me. Name, prints, mugshot, the works. Rookie named Keller handled my intake. I sharp, but unsure. I could tell he was new, still thought doing his job right made a difference. But you know what hit me? He hesitated when he got to occupation. Freelance, I told him. That's all he needed to know. But I could see him weighing something, maybe wondering, maybe doubting. Carter and Sullivan joked in the break room about kids they'd busted, like it was a game. They didn't know I was listening. They didn't care. But I did. Because I'd been tracking them, watching, recording, building a case even as they thought they were building one against me. See, Arlington's numbers were off. Too many people of color getting stopped, too many discoveries of unmarked bags, too many quick convictions. I'd seen it in other towns, but here it was like they weren't even hiding it. And the only way to blow it open? Let myself get caught, trust the system to show its rot when it thought nobody was watching. Inside the holding cell, cold bench, buzzing light, quiet as a confession, I waited. Keller brought me water. I was flicking away when I asked if he believed he was doing the right thing. He tried to dodge, said he was just doing his duty, but I pressed. Do you believe in it? He didn't answer. That's when I knew the seed was planted. All it takes is a crack. Hidden on my wrist was a patch, triple encrypted, meant for emergencies. I triggered it without anyone noticing. 10 minutes, I told myself. That's how long it'd take for the right people to trace me. While Carter and Sullivan bragged about their numbers, I listened. They didn't know, but every word added to the evidence I was building, every laugh, every repeat of, we got another one. Keller, meanwhile, started digging. Late at night, alone, he pulled up their arrest logs, same pattern, same language, same outcome every time. It made him sick, but it also made him see. This wasn't about one mistake. It was the system working exactly as it was designed. The next morning, 3 men in suits arrived. No badges, no introductions, just a quiet demand for surveillance access. Carter and Sullivan started sweating for the first time. Court came quick. They tried to charge me with everything. Traffic violation, narcotics, the works. I represented myself, stood up, clear voice, looked the judge dead in the eye. You arrested the wrong person. Not because I'm innocent. Because I'm not ordinary. And then I dropped the video. Footage of Carter planting the bag in my trunk before even opening it. The room went dead silent. The judge, the prosecutor, even Carter, everyone saw it, and nobody had a word to say. I didn't stop there. I laid out the pattern. Dozens of arrests, same officers, same judge, same results. I showed them the web, and I named names. They couldn't look away anymore. The aftermath? Well, the charges vanished, of course. Carter and Sullivan got pulled in for questioning, not cuffs, not perp walks, but they weren't untouchable anymore. Judge Dillard retired for health reasons, and his legacy started getting erased from the courthouse walls. The folks who got railroaded started receiving quiet letters, verdicts vacated, records expunged, apologies offered years too late. For some, like Luis Ramos, it didn't matter. He died in a cell, waiting for a rescue that never came. Keller? He stood up in court, told the truth. I used to be part of the silence. No excuses, no shifting blame. He just named it, because sometimes the most radical thing you can do is say, I saw, and I stayed quiet. But not anymore. And me? I left Arlington the way I came in, quiet, unnoticed, one suitcase, no forwarding address. I wasn't there to be remembered, just to make sure nobody else got forgotten. Keller found my note. I'm just here to make sure change doesn't get stopped, and that was that. What's wild is how quickly it all got buried. No headlines, no breaking news. Just a slow, careful erasure, blog posts taken down, mentions scrubbed. Even the court records vanished from search results. The system, when it wants to protect itself, gets real quiet. But the people who mattered, the ones who lost years, the ones who got those letters, they knew. And for once, so did someone on the inside. Here's the thing, justice doesn't arrive all at once. Sometimes it crawls, silent, through cracks you didn't know existed. Sometimes it's just a rookie who decides not to look away, or a woman who won't play along. The system wants you to think you're alone, that silence is the only safety. But if this story sticks with you, even for a second, that's proof the silence can't hold forever. So, yeah, maybe you've been misjudged before, sized up for your skin, your voice, the way you stand your ground. Maybe you know how it feels to be the only one in the room who isn't playing pretend. If you do, don't keep that story to yourself. Share it. Pass it on. Because every time we talk about what's broken, we give somebody else permission to see it too. What do you think? Does justice start in the courtroom? Or does it start when we finally stop pretending not to notice? Drop your thoughts. Ask questions. Let's keep this story from slipping back into the dark. That's how change begins. Not all at once, not with spotlights. Just one person at a time, refusing to look away.